Blanchester, Ohio is a small village in Clinton County, known for its rural charm and close-knit community. It offers a quiet, small-town atmosphere with a mix of local businesses, farmland, and residential areas. Blanchester was the hometown of 22-year-old Clarissa Carrie Culberson, a young woman who vanished in 1996 under mysterious circumstances. Her disappearance left a lasting impact on her family, her friends, and the small community left behind. Known for her cheerful disposition and striking beauty, Carrie was often described as having homecoming queen looks. In high school, she participated in a number of sports and served as a class officer for 4 years, reflecting her active involvement and leadership within the school community. Following graduation, she went to the University of Cincinnati to study pre-law, but it didn't work out. She had a passion for cosmetology and found employment as a nail technician. Just the day prior to her disappearance, Carrie had gone to a local college to take a pre-admission test for nursing. She wanted to be successful and dreamt of building a good life for herself. 22-year-old Carrie began dating a young man named Vince Doan in 1994, but their relationship was anything but stable. It was marked by repeated episodes of violence and emotional manipulation. In 1995 and again in 1996, Carrie reported to the authorities that Doan had physically assaulted her. On one occasion, he smashed her car windows while she was still inside the vehicle. Another time, he hit her in the lower abdomen so severely she suffered bruising to her kidneys. The abuse escalated in the summer of 1996 when Carrie filed a criminal complaint against Vince Doan for misdemeanor assault after he allegedly struck her on the head with a space heater. The attack left Carrie with a severe wound requiring 5 surgical staples. The couple was scheduled to appear in court regarding this particular complaint in early September of 1996. On August 25th, 1996, just days before her disappearance, Carrie's family reported that Vince had abducted her at gunpoint and held her for approximately 5 hours. She ultimately convinced him to let her go and drive her home. Carrie's loved ones described Vince as extremely controlling and obsessed with Carrie, making it clear that she was in an extremely dangerous situation. On August 28th, Carrie played in a volleyball game with friends in Morrow, Ohio. Afterward, she returned to Blanchester, where she was dropped off at her residence at approximately 11:30 p.m. A neighbour reported seeing her leave in her red 1989 Honda CRX a few minutes later. That was the last confirmed sighting of 22-year-old Carrie Culberson. The following morning, her mother, Deborah, noticed that her daughter's car was not in the driveway and immediately sensed that something was wrong. Carrie's disappearance was alarming because her vehicle, bearing the license plate ROL 402, had also vanished without a trace. When driving around the neighbourhood looking for her daughter, Deborah stopped by 24-year-old Vince Doan's house, but he wasn't home, and Carrie's vehicle was not parked outside. After she caught up with Vince at his father's property later that same day, she asked him when he had last seen her daughter, to which he responded that he hadn't seen Carrie in 3 days. But this didn't sit right. The Culberson family officially reported Carrie as missing at 11 a.m. on the morning of August 29th. Vince Doan had been at the bar where Carrie and her friends gathered after the volleyball game on the night she disappeared. He was reportedly angry at her because she had refused to accompany him to a court hearing regarding a traffic violation. Witnesses recalled that he attempted to drive her home, but she didn't want to be alone with him and repeatedly shook her head no, explaining that she was the designated driver and needed to get her friends home safely. Doan left in an angry state, peeling out of the parking lot in his vehicle. Despite initially claiming that he had not seen Carrie that night, it's reported that Vince Doan later changed his story on multiple occasions. In one version of events, he claimed she had arrived at his house at 12:30 a.m, honked, but he refused to speak to her. In another version, he stated that he came outside wrapped in a towel and told her he no longer loved her, at which point she sped away. He even alleged that she appeared intoxicated, but her friends attested that she had consumed only one beer that evening and was not remotely drunk. Due to his ever-changing accounts, police immediately shifted their focus to Vince as a suspect. 5 days after Carrie's disappearance, police searched his family's property. However, controversy arose when it was discovered that Blanchester Police Chief Richard Payton, a friend of the Doan family, had allegedly warned them that Vince was being considered the prime suspect in Carrie's disappearance. Shockingly, Payton allowed Doan's property to remain unguarded overnight. The following morning, investigators found what appeared to be suspicious footprints at the bottom of a drained pond in a junkyard on the property, with cadaver dogs indicating the presence of human remains, leading to speculation that Carrie's body had possibly been removed from the property before authorities could discover it. In 1997, Vince was initially charged with kidnapping, but prosecutors added 2 counts of aggravated murder just 5 days before the trial was due to commence, postponing the legal proceedings for over a month. Throughout the trial, Vince maintained his innocence and exercised his Fifth Amendment rights, refusing to answer questions about Carrie's disappearance. The prosecution painted Vince Doan as a violent, controlling individual whose abuse escalated into murder. A neighbour gave a damning testimony which appeared to fit this narrative, in which she claimed to have seen Vince physically assaulting Carrie in the front yard on the morning she was last seen alive. Additionally, Vince's half-brother's ex-wife gave further testimony which implicated him even further. She told the court that Vince appeared at her home at 3:15 a.m. on August 29th, appearing somewhat dishevelled, with blood evident on his clothing. He showered, and then he and his half-brother, Tracy Baker, left the property with a handgun and some garbage bags, returning at around 5 a.m. Upon their return, it was evident that more blood was present on their clothes, which raised further suspicions. Contrary to this, Doan's parents claimed to have seen him asleep on the couch between 1 and 2 a.m, which the defence later claimed meant he couldn't have been involved in Carrie's disappearance, though another report states that Doan and his father exchanged a phone call at around 1:30 a.m. regarding a, quote, undisclosed matter. This was never elaborated on any further. A former cellmate of Vince Doan also testified that while they were incarcerated together, Vince confided in him that he believed that Carrie was cheating on him and that he often thought about different ways to kill her. He appeared dead set in wanting some sort of revenge. Despite the defence at the trial arguing several testimonies were made by known criminals who could not be trusted, and that there was no physical evidence proving Carrie was dead, pointing to alleged sightings of her and her car after her disappearance, the jury found Vince Doan guilty on August 7th, 1997, after just 4 days of deliberations. He was convicted of 1 count of aggravated murder and 3 counts of kidnapping. The verdict determined that Vince had either abducted or attempted to abduct Carrie, resulting in her death, even though no body had been recovered. The jury rejected the theory that he had killed her to prevent her from testifying in the upcoming assault case that September. Shockingly, during the trial, a woman called the police from Cincinnati, claiming to be Carrie. She told authorities that it was, quote, wrong to put an innocent man on trial. Culberson's mother later listened to a recording of the phone call and said she was certain that the caller was not her missing daughter. Vince Doan was subsequently sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 9 years for kidnapping. His multiple appeals were denied, and in the year 2000, the 12th District Court of Appeals upheld his conviction. Following the trial, Blanchester Police Chief Richard Payton was accused of helping the Doan family cover up the crime scene. He was charged with obstruction of justice, but later pleaded guilty to dereliction of duty, receiving a lenient sentence of 1 year's probation, a $750 fine, and a suspended 90-day jail term. Tracy Baker was convicted of obstruction of justice and sentenced to 8 years behind bars, while Doan's father, Lawrence Baker, was tried but acquitted. Carrie's family won a wrongful death suit against the city of Blanchester in 2001. As part of the settlement, the city agreed to pay $2 million to her family and pledged to improve police training in handling domestic violence cases. They also committed to continuing the search for Carrie's remains. A plaque honouring her was placed in the lobby of the Blanchester Police Department, where it will remain until her body is found. Carrie Culberson's case remains a chilling reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the failures in law enforcement that can allow abuse to escalate into tragedy. Her story has since been used to raise awareness about intimate partner violence, emphasising the importance of taking such threats seriously before it's too late. Her parents, Roger and Deborah, and sister Christina, continue to seek justice and closure, hoping that one day they will be able to lay Carrie to rest. At the time of her disappearance, Clarissa Ann Carrie Culberson was 22 years old. She is described as being Caucasian, with brown hair and brown eyes, standing between 5'2" and 5'3" tall, and weighing approximately 122 pounds. She notably has both of her ears pierced and has a tattoo of a sun on her inner right calf and a tattoo of a daisy on her right hip. Less than a month prior to her disappearance, she had sustained an injury to her head, causing her to need staples to close the cut. She had not only fractured her skull, but also her ribs and her foot. She was last seen wearing a maroon Harvard t-shirt, a sweatshirt with Moeller written on it, a pair of cut-off blue denim shorts, a pair of dark blue S.D.D.C flip-flops, and a hair scrunchie. Her vehicle, a red 1989 Honda CRX hatchback with the Ohio license plate ROL 402, has never been located. Registration was due to expire in 1997. Due to the circumstances involved, Carrie is considered an endangered missing person. If she is alive today, she would be 51 years of age. Those with any information regarding the disappearance of Carrie Culberson are urged to contact Clinton County Sheriff's Office at 937-382-1611.